Back to Things of Gold, a Snarky Puppy podcast by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Megan.
And we're back. It hasn't been an abnormally long amount of time for people listening, but, breaking the fourth wall, it's been like a month since we recorded episode 4. I went on Goose Tour, and we've been busy with, work and real life and not only focusing on podcasting. And
well, I've actually been busy with other podcasts too.
Well,
Ryan.
We're both people of multiple podcasts.
Yes.
So, time has to work. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. We have to find time for everything. But I'm excited to be back, diving back into some Snarky Puppy. Been looking forward to this one as well. Of course, new era of the band for us to talk about. This is the thing I remembered I need to talk about. If anyone is curious to hear Megan's first reaction to every song on Culture Vulture, we did a live stream a couple of weeks ago where we listened to every single song on the album, gave our thoughts. Of course, I had heard it before, but it was Megan's first time. So go check that out. Wherever you are consuming this podcast right now, there will also be an option to click on that. So check it out.
That was really fun. And we did a lot of really good chair dancing as well.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Something else very important happened since the last time we recorded this, Megan, which is you saw Snarky Puppy for the first time.
I did. I saw them April 13th at the Beacon Theater on the Upper West Side in New York City. It was a gorgeous, unusually warm early spring day. I brought a friend who knew nothing about them, which was really exciting. And we were having dinner right one of the side streets across from the theater. And we were actually looked over and we saw the tour buses all lined up. And then out of them comes Eric from Ground Up. And he comes over and says hello. And we got to hang out with him, which was really fun. And when the show started, it was, I kind of knew what I should have known what to expect, but it was so overwhelming. I mean, there were like 16 musicians on stage, right? Is that
there
how many
were 12 or
night?
13 of them. Very special extended lineup.
So many. And I had this like great sightline of Bob Reynolds, which I was really happy about. But honestly, Ryan, the crispness, the power of their sound is so incredible live. They're probably the tightest band I've ever seen live. They just come together in this way that sounds really effortless and really, really strong. They played mostly Empire Central songs, which I love. Obviously, they're on that tour. They were darker than I was expecting and really like monster sounding. They were really great. They also played 2 songs from We Like It Here to end the show, which I was really happy about. So they played Sleeper and What About Me. But I had an incredible night and I loved the show and I can't wait to see them again.
I love it. Interesting that you say they're the tightest band you've ever seen and you saw Phish in 1994.
Yeah, I did. I mean, maybe they're the tightest band I've seen live in a long time.
Right.
Yeah. But with Phish is like different. Like we don't need to go in too far this because this is a rabbit hole that I could, Phish's version of tight is wilder, it's looser, it's more, experimental, It's more off the tracks. This tightness is like, that studio tightness that they bring. And so it's totally different, but it seems more kind of like helmed in. And I mean that as a compliment, but yeah, it was great. So I don't know if you could really compare their tightness to Phish's tightness in 94, but that's an interesting conversation. We'll have to have that offline, Ryan.
Yeah, we will. We definitely will. I'm excited to dive into this show. Speaking of Bob Reynolds, he is on this show, and I don't want to burst your bubble early here, but savor this moment because we're not going to see him again until episode 10.
Devastating.
Devastating. But today, of course, our first episode in the Culture Vulture era of the band, we will be talking about May 9th, 2017, from Brussels, Belgium, at the Ancienne Belgique, which is a venue I've seen a lot of bands play coming through venue. Goose is playing the Small Room at that venue this November on my birthday, and I will hopefully be there.
No way. Wow.
Yes. But this is a good show. This is part of a very long tour in early 2017 that they were doing. They started, I think they played some shows in the U.S., then they were in Japan, and then Europe for like 6 weeks or something, and then back to the U.S. And so as they do, they are like, we're going to go on tour for 5 months straight and go across the entire planet, because why not? But got a cool lineup, a couple of first-time members making their debut on the podcast. So today we've got Chris Bullock on tenor sax, Bob Reynolds, tenor sax, Mike Maher, trumpet and flugelhorn, Justin Stanton on trumpet and keyboards, Bill Lawrence on keyboards, Michael League on the bass, Marcelo Wolowski on percussion, and our first ever performances of Chris McQueen on guitar and Larnell Lewis on the drums. So, Megan, what are your thoughts on the sound of this show?
Yeah, well, I was
I
really
also just
excited about
realized that
it.
you did amazing venue history research that I have just skipped over. So we're going to backtrack a little
Okay,
bit here
perfect.
and pretend that I didn't
Perfect.
just spoil it.
Yeah,
And
let's do it.
Megan, I see you did some amazing venue research.
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about it. So they're in Brussels, which is such a cool city. When I lived in London, I took the train there and it was so easy. And it's one of those beautiful European cities with a big central square and chocolate shops and places to buy pommes frites. They speak French and they have beautiful, gorgeous architecture. It's just one of those really perfect European cities. I would love to go back. And I was looking at the venue website and their shows end by 10:30 so everyone can take public transportation home, which I just thought
Love
was
it.
so European. They just do
Yeah.
things right over there, right? They're like so thoughtful. And the venue name Ancienne Belgique means old Belgium in French. And the venue, yeah, consists of three spaces. They have a main hall, which is about 2,000 people. And then they also have a box, which is when it's the same main hall, but then they cover a bunch of the seats and they reduce it down to 800 person capacity. And then this small club that you were talking about that Goose is going to play in is about 250. So pretty tiny compared to the other venues. But it seems really active in a very progressive music space. And that makes sense that you've heard a lot about it, Ryan, because it seems awesome. And yeah, I was looking into the name Culcha Volcha because when we did our live streaming, I was trying to figure out what that means. And at first, I
Hmm.
just thought Culcha might be like a reference to arty things in Boston. Do you get it?
No, I
Culcha?
don't.
Do you know what Boston accents are like, Ryan?
Yes.
They don't say like culcha, they say.
That's funny.
So, yeah. So, anyway, I thought that's what it was, but not really. It's actually a take, I think, on that term culture vulture, which means to borrow from like different cultures or styles. So it's like a diverse mix of compositions. And I thought that was really cool. If that's what it means, we'll have to ask them. But I love that idea that culture vulture is a take on that. They made those two words sound really cool.
Yeah,
So
well, and it's
yeah.
also an album that has a much more global influence than
Yeah.
previous Snarky Puppy albums. You start to see, which will be very prevalent on immigrants as well. Lots
Mm.
of quote unquote world music, inspired tunes on this, and lots of different kinds of instruments and beats and moods happening. So cool to think about. So on to the sound of this lineup. What did you think of especially Larnell and McQueen? Big difference.
Yeah. McQueen's amazing. I really liked his guitar, just like really, really effortless sounding and beautiful, and he has a really great tone, and I love those moments when he came through kind of in more rock and roll vibes. And I mean, of course, percussion's incredible, like, the drums on this show really stand out, and
Yep.
there's such a great kind of driving sense to his drumming, and it it really works with these songs. I'm excited to get into them.
Yeah, me too. I find that Larnell's playing has more of a fluid quality to it.
Mhm.
We're gonna have him this episode and in episode 6, and that's it for the whole series. Given his
Wow.
he teaches at a college in Toronto, so he doesn't tour as much. And when he does tour, it's generally like nowadays he generally tours their summer European festival schedule, which
Oh,
means
okay.
when they're flying from gig to gig, so they don't usually record those. So
Oh, that makes
that's why we
sense,
don't hear
yeah.
as much of Larnell on the recordings. But we have a great show here today. So let's dive in. We start with opening Grown Folks, wasting no time, no kite to ease us in, nothing like that. We're going straight for the heat. Grown Folks with a Chris Bullock solo, which in a very atypical move for him, he sticks clean throughout most of it. When the band comes back in for that kind of secondary vamp on the
Mhm.
solo, he hits on the fuzz, and then you're like, oh, like okay, it's Bullock. But interesting to hear him play clean for so long. And I really, really like this solo. I think you can hear the subtle differences between his playing and Bob's playing on sax. But I like the way he sounds clean. And I think it's something I feel like is kind of underutilized for him. He really leans into the effects a lot of the time. And I know, that's a very conscious thing on his part, because obviously that's what he likes to do. But playing clean sounds awesome here.
Yeah, for a minute I thought it was Bob Reynolds. I was like, wait a minute. And then I looked and realized it wasn't, but I really liked it too. It was really nice. And when you've got like Larnell's drums coming in, the song has such a great swing. It just sounds effortless. And I love this part when it gets dark and then it starts to like build back up again. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. And shout out to Bill, who he's kind of the star of the show for me, the MVP, if you will. His Rhodes comping on this solo, both there's a little bit of delayed stuff at the beginning, just his layering during Bullock's solo and just the song in general. He sounds amazing. And what's interesting about this lineup is, we kind of heard it in the fall of 2015, a Justin and Bill lineup. Justin has a smaller rig for this run than he did then. He's just got I believe he just had like his Prophet synthesizer and a Mini Moog. So much more limited. Last time we were hearing like whirly patches from him and some pianos here and there. This one, he's just got synths. So interesting to look at Bill being the sole kind of like full-time keyboard player, and taking up most of the sonic space there. Bill also has a clav in his rig for the first time, which we will hear, the real clav man of the band, Bobby Sparks, take over in the next episode. But it's interesting to hear Bill use that there. That's not something that happens very often. Obviously, it happens more now due to the Empire Central material. And I think, coming up this weekend, they're kicking off their South American leg. I know Bill's along for the ride there. And so, I think it's just Justin and Bill for this tour. So we're going to see the two of them playing clav, which, very interesting because they don't usually.
And it always makes you happy. I wonder if people who are listening to this know about your clav tweet.
I like clav. There's no clav tweets happening yet. There's a very specific set of circumstances that needs to that results in a clav tweet. And there will be some of those from Bobby.
Okay, I'm looking.
It's hard to put into words. You just know.
Okay.
You just know when a clav tweet is
coming, is imminent.
Yeah.
It's a mystery.
It's a je ne sais quoi, if you will. We're in Belgium here. We can talk in French.
There we go. Yeah, I really love the kind of soft bass line that Michael's playing underneath this. It's just like very cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. This is one of my favorite songs off the album, and great to hear. And then we lead into Beatbox for our second song here. Very laid back here, very textural. This song in 2019 a lot too would be used as an opener, which I think is a great pick. And
Yeah.
we get this song. Michael plays key bass on, so different feel than his normal electric bass. And then Moz using like the filter, one of the filters, or like a plunger. I don't know the
Yeah, it
technical
looks
term
like a
for it.
plunger, yeah.
On the trumpet for his solo here. He puts in some delay as well. Really cool, and I love the synths during the solo. I really like that a lot.
There's so many good synths in this whole show, and maybe it's like you were saying, due to a limited rig, but it works really well. And this song has such a light touch. It's so soft, and after like these dark, heavy sounds at the end of Grown Folks, there's a really nice juxtaposition to that. I think Snarky Puppy's so good at that, and I think they're really great at crafting set lists that have that kind of balancing those really dark, strong moments with really soft, delicate moments, and they do that here really well.
Yes, agreed, 100%. You know, this song did for some reason get a little bit of hate when we did a poll of
Yeah.
people's favorite Culture Vulture songs on Instagram. You know, someone said anything but
I
beatbox.
saw that. So
And I say
sad.
nay to you unbelievers. That's
Yeah, it's a
nonsense.
pretty song. It's nice. Yeah, I think the song is great and it serves a good purpose in a set list.
Yeah, definitely. Then we move on to Go here, the one song that you had heard before. You know, we heard this in a fall 2015 show. You know, they were kind of
Right. That was the first time they
working it
played it,
into set
right?
lists. It was
Mhm.
one of the first times. I don't think that was
Okay.
the debut, but it was one of the few times they played it before the album was recorded.
Yeah, and they
So
didn't have
similar
a name
structure
for it,
here.
right?
Yeah, similar structure here. Very different feel with the soloists. I think than we heard in the last one. You know, this time we get Bob Reynolds, we get Bill, and
Mm.
we get Justin on the outro. Now this is, you know, one of my favorite versions of Go that I've ever heard. You know, Michael said in the show notes, feels better than it ever has before, and so they've been playing
Oh,
it for a
wow.
year and a half at this point. And I guess this is a point where I guess it really started to click. You know, kind of who's taking solos, or just it just felt, you know, clean, and it's amazing. You know, everybody, not just the soloists, playing great in this song.
Yeah, it sounded a lot different from what I remember on the album, although I'm not great at remembering how things sound on albums, but with this Bob Reynolds solo to start, it's just, of course, buttery and rich, like all Bob Reynolds solos are. But when McQueen comes in, or he's kind of in the background, it's so different and really cool, and it just has like a really great feel to it.
Yeah, it's really cool his comping as well. And
Hmm.
there are a couple of goes from this tour as well where he takes, you know, kind of the middle section solo there, with a
Mm.
really cool envelope filter sound. Kind of, I find McQueen's tone to be kind of like quirky
Hmm.
a lot of times, you know. And while like Mark especially has like a very classic rock
Hmm.
feel to a lot of his playing, McQueen I feel like is more of like a slithery, if you will. It's like his tone
Mm.
feels more fluid, like similar to how Larnell's drumming feels more fluid to me. McQueen like kind of like fits into different spaces more easily, as
Yeah,
opposed
I
to like
can
a
see
straight
that.
ahead rock and roll from like Mark or even Bob.
Yeah, I like that. It's less jarring and less kind of demanding of attention in a way. It's cool.
Which is, you know, not we're not saying that to knock Mark and Bob
No, they're
either.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I
just
think
want to
that's what's
say
so
that.
cool about this band, right? Is that, when you have different people playing the same songs, it just, you hear their personality as musicians and their tone and they're in a way that you can't, when they're in the same band all the time. It's really neat.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Definitely. And then Justin on the outro here, you know, I totally skipped over Bill's solo too. You know, these two keyboard solos, Bill really taking his time on Rhodes, and we get to hear a bit of that chorusy CP piano sound, you know, the kind of metallic sounding piano that will crop up again later in the show. That's a favorite tone of Bill's. He's got like 2 or 3 different piano patches that he likes to use with Snarky Puppy, so it's interesting to hear when he chooses to insert each one in. And then the outro is just like, it's the sun coming out from behind a cloud. It's just pure joy. You like lift your arms up, you're happy. And Justin just lights it up on Moog, and it's great. I also wrote Prophet in the notes, but I'm not certain which one it is. Just kidding. It's Moog. It says Moog in the show notes.
It's beautiful though, and I really love the Bill solo. It's like super jazzy and energetic, and then what you were saying, how he comes in with like the piano underneath it. It's just such a nice balance to this like peaking synthetic sound. They're so good at that, like taking those balancing. I think I talked about that a lot in the last episode of balancing synthetic and more organic sounds together. And the end, like when you hear them come back in with that riff, like the chorusy part that you were talking about, it reminds me of when, a jam band has like a big long jam and then they come back and bring it back to the song and you hear the riff or the chorus come back in.
Yeah,
it's
and
so
it's like,
satisfying.
oh!
Yeah, it's like coming home. You're like, yes. So I really like that they do that with this song. It works really, really well. And then, the segue from this song into Palermo is just absolutely so smooth and beautiful. And I love the laid down synths to start this song. It just really like eases us in. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's that patented Marcello movie soundscape feel.
Yeah,
Every time,
I love his songs.
all his songs really have that different vibe to it, like big sweeping, like panoramic views of an African savanna. And while this is playing in the background, like a planet Earth kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's really good. Another clean solo from Bullock, which feels to me it still has an undercurrent of dissonance that he has in a lot of his solos. He's not as bright major key as Bob kind of takes it. But I mean, it's a great song. It feels really deep, and the driving rhythm underneath, it just gives the song a really nice groove. And at the end, they've got the audience clapping along, and
And then Michael kind of says hi and says, introduces the night to everybody and introduces the new record. It's a great moment in the show. He always seems to find like the perfect time to do that. I like that.
Right. Yeah. He knows it's like 3 or 4 songs in is kind of the sweet spot, I think, for him. And yeah, he has a great feel for that. It's like, okay, we've played enough. The crowd's into it. Everyone's ready. Now I can talk for a couple of minutes, which is good. And then they jump right into Tarova, which, in this original arrangement, just like comes in, it crashes in like a truck, and just
Yeah.
just goes in. This is the drumming. This is the rhythm section. I love this song. Bullock plays the main melody on sax in the absence of organ, which is usually what plays it. And then it's just, Maz gets into it on the solo, dirty, grimy, awesome, filth. Yeah, and then Maz apparently takes something off after the song, according to
Yeah.
Michael.
I know. It's so great. I really like this song. It's such a beginning. It just puts you like right into the song. It reminds me of certain Fish songs that like you're just in right away. There's no kind
Yeah,
of like lead in. It's like boom. I love that there's like a hint at funkiness in this song and layered textures right away. And then it starts to swing and gets like super dancey. And again, just loving their ability to layer disparate types of music on top of each other and make it sound so right. So you've got like this jazz swing layered on top of like a funk beat.
yeah,
And it just works. Just works.
it's amazing. I'm really curious to hear. When we get to 2019, we'll hear the different arrangement of Tarova, that they switched
Mm.
it up at the end of 2018. They like reworked most of the song. And
Oh,
so it,
cool.
it starts very differently and has a different middle section. Like, there are some parts that are the same, but I'm really curious and excited to hear what you think of that in relation to
Yeah,
this
me
one.
too.
Because I heard that one before I heard the original, just because of how my live listening took me.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm really curious to hear what you think of that one when we do get there.
Do you have a preference?
I like the newer one. I like I
Cool.
like the intro. I like the different stuff they added to it. But that it doesn't swing as hard as the old one. That's the thing.
Ah, the
That's the
new ones
rub there.
rarely do.
There you go. There we go. So then Michael says the magic words to jam band fans like us. Is it okay if we get weird for a second?
And you're like,
Then they
yes,
launch into
do it.
Gemini. It's that weird space middle section where you kind of
Mm,
have the undercurrent of the steady drums part of the song, and then Bullock is doing weird flute noises, and they're all kind of making like weird sounds. It's not like straight
yeah,
synths. It's like percussion with like reverb on it or something. I don't know if that's something Marcelo can trigger himself or, it's happening in front of house. But it's really cool hearing the kind of things that they do in this section. It's really like, it feels kind of like a jungle, in a way
absolutely.
that's
Like
due
bird
to like the
song
flute.
almost.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
the flute as well. But yeah, this middle section is awesome.
I love this song. This is my favorite song on Culture Vulture. And there's a dreamy Steely Dan kind of
Ooh, yeah.
vibe to this song. And that's layered on top of like this really sick beat. And McQueen's guitar work is absolutely beautiful, super languid. This is like when you like smoked a joint and you're like waiting to go on a date with someone you really like. You're like nervous but excited. There's like an elusive quality to this
Yeah.
spacey section that is just It's like something's kind of like just out of reach. It's beautiful. I really love it. And this is something I want to listen to again because I love stuff like this, but this is really, it's cool to hear a band like this that plays so kind of tight and forward moving, add some space and kind of like breathe into it a little bit because it's
Right.
really cool what they do. Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's like the cool singing, it's vibey. I like this song a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, you emerge from the weird into the uplifting ending section.
Yeah.
Uh, I like what they do in this version too, where you get some trading between Bill and Justin, on Rhodes and on synth. Generally this song has one person take the whole outro. So it's cool to hear the way they trade and how they kind of play off of each other. And then, each one kind of raise the energy and intensity as they go.
Yeah, which really speaks to like the magic of having, two keyboard players or like two drummers, right? It's that ability to pass things between each other. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I love it. And then that's that song. And then we get to my favorite song from Culture Vulture here, Big Ugly. Before the song, the crowd is very loudly requesting Sleeper. To
Yeah.
which Michael says no. But then he's like, we're gonna play one that's like that one in it that it's by us. That's the only
When he
similarity.
said that, I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "Oh," it took me a minute to like
Like he's basically
understand how he
saying,
was phrasing it. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna play whatever the fuck we want to play, and it's not gonna be Sleeper.
It's so
Um,
funny. Yeah. And who says it's the sequel to
McQueen
Sleeper?
chimes in that it's
Yeah.
the sequel,
So
which is
funny.
cool. But yeah, I love this song so much. Great Justin trumpet solo in the middle. We usually hear Maz or Bullock take that middle section. Or when we get to Zach on violin, he takes the middle section on Big Ugly a lot as well. So nice to hear Justin. A cleaner trumpet sound, of course, because he doesn't have effects with it. But it sounds great. And then McQueen gets on the ending. Yeah. I just love
Yeah,
this
it's
song
great.
so much.
It's fun, and I love the horns in contrast to the like repetitive groove underneath. Real kind of classic rock guitar solo, and the ending is really ethereal. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's oh man, there's a reason that this is the closer of the album. It's so good in that
I
slot.
forgot
It's
that.
not the
Yeah.
closer of this show even. It's the closer of the Culture Vulture portion of this show. We had a bunch of culture songs, then we had two We
Right.
Like It Here at the end, similar to what they're doing with Empire Central now, but they're playing more songs nowadays than they were, back in these sets. Like they were only doing, they do what is it, 7 of the 9 songs on the album here.
Mhm.
And then they move on to Two We Like It Here. So the only songs that don't get played are Cementi and The Simple Life, which
Mm.
obviously The Simple Life is not getting played because we're not ever going to hear it.
Our show, yeah, I think my show was longer than this.
Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
doing on the recent tour. They've been doing like 10, like 9 or 10
Mhm.
Empire Central songs plus, the two We Like It Here closers. So
Yeah, I think there was only 2 songs, 1 or 2 songs from, Empire Central that they didn't play. So, yeah, they're playing a lot.
yeah,
It's great.
they're which is good. Longer shows. I'm in
Yeah,
favor.
exactly. Me too, always.
Yes. But so we move on to We Like It Here. We get the ever popular Lingus. Of course, I didn't do this intentionally, but we have another Bob Reynolds solo on this song. We had him in episode 4
Perfect.
as well. Unfortunately, there's no disco this time.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I was missing that, I have to say. I loved the Lingus that we listened to last week. It's
Yeah,
so funny because I got a text from my brother-in-law who was listening to the podcast, and he
yeah,
texted me and was like, "Disco Lingus," just like in all caps, and I was
yeah,
like, "Yeah, exactly. It's so good."
yeah. I posted an Instagram story about it, and Bob responded. He was like, "Tell me more about this disco lingus." Like he didn't remember it, so I sent him a clip. I was like, "This is like incredible," you know.
Here you
So
are
yeah,
playing an incredible version of this song. That's
yeah,
so much fun.
with
Yeah,
with a disco beat.
and Michael is killing it in this version. He sounds
Yeah,
amazing in the beginning of
great
the song.
fills, great
Yeah,
fills.
so good. And I die for Bob Reynolds, and I was listening to this whole show like, where's my Bob Reynolds solos? Like, I want more of them. So here it
Here you
is,
are.
and here I am with his dreamy tone. It's perfect.
Here you are. And this is a good send off for him, for the next few episodes. So sad
Devastating.
for you to see him go. I mean,
Yeah.
also sad for me because I love Bob Reynolds. But that's the end of the main set here, and then we get my personal highlight of the show here, which is this "What About Me." There are a few versions of this song from this tour where Bill takes it and just goes like crazy on like every single keyboard in his rig.
I love that.
It's nuts. He starts off with this really thick layer of Rhodes and immediately gets into this like progression that like feels emotional in a way. And
Yeah.
as he's doing this, he's laying down this Rhodes, whatever. Larnell very subtly just transforms into this like into the disco that we didn't get in Lingus. We get it here. Um, and
It's so
yeah,
incredible, this part of the song. I mean, the textures are just overwhelming.
yeah,
And I think that was one of the things that was really just blew me away when I was seeing them live, was the ability to make this enormous, rich, like all-encompassing sound and then just switch on a dime like they do in the next section.
yeah. Well, it's all Rhodes and some light synth from Bill
Mhm.
in the open section, and then they get into the vamp. First of all, it's fast. You're
Mhm.
charging. You're going. This disco beat is still there,
Yeah.
and Bill hops right on Moog. Starts doing crazy synth runs. He's kind of letting the the hits, if you will, of the vamp of What About Me kind of happen, and then he fills in the space in between, which is really cool as well. Instead of just playing straight over top of it, and then he switches to that again that um, the chorusy metallic CP piano sound for the second half of the solo, and it's just amazing. I love the way this sounds. There's another version from this tour where he like does that and then switches to clav at one point, and then like back to piano, and it's like it's crazy. But Bill,
Yeah, incredible. I mean, the first part of that section is so beautiful and contemplative, and it sounds like raindrops falling. It's really stunning. And then just the percussion is just, if you like just listen to the drumming and the percussion, it's going so hard and so fast. Like, it doesn't even sound like it's created by a human. Like, it's so
right?
incredibly fast. I cannot get over the speed of like so much of this song.
It's very very excellent.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah,
a big drum
it's so
solo,
great.
but how do you feel about that, Ryan? I know you don't like drum solos.
Well, this drum solo is interesting to me. There's
Yes, it's
stuff going
super
on. First of
compelling,
all,
right?
this is the first one. This is the first one we've heard where Michael is now doing the bass line for it. Kind of out of character for him. He like modulates it up briefly and then back down. Not as crazy as we heard from Justin in the last episode. Um, this is really cool. Larnell keeps the disco beat going the entire time as
Yeah,
he's soloing. Like what?
I know. It's incredible.
That's
I don't
like
know. Yeah, these keyboard players, they're just next level. Or this is the drummer, actually. Sorry. Yeah, the drummers
Larnell. Yeah,
and yeah, they're honestly. I mean, that was the first thing that ever stood out to me about Snarky Puppy, and it's like now that I've listened to more of it, I'm able to focus on other things. But like, I'll be thinking about another part of it, and then I'll listen back to the drumming, and I'll be like, wow, yeah, it's still insanely amazing. So cool.
yeah. And then they end the song. Whatever. Michael starts introducing the band. They get back into the disco beat thing,
Yeah.
and then I don't know whether it's Bullock or Bob, but one of them teases Quartermaster, and I
Oh
am
my god, I
angry
would
about it
die. I would
because
die. I would
they're
die.
tempting me with a good time.
Thank you so much. Larnell Lewis on the drums, y'all. Bill Lawrence, Chris McQueen, Justin Stanton, Mike Maher, Chris Bullock, Bob Reynolds, Marcelo Walaski. I'm Michael League with Snarky Puppy. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
seriously.
angry about it.
That is messed up. That's messed up.
It's rude, and I demand an apology.
Yeah, that's the song that I thought for sure they were going to play for me in the Beacon, but to no avail.
I thought you were looking for Binky.
Well, I'd like both of those, please.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to just write the set list for the next show I see,
Yeah, exactly.
We can dream,
Yeah.
everyone's got to chase something. But it's just awesome because you can tell, in Michael's voice as well, and you can just tell that they're all having so much fun at the
Yeah.
end of the show here, just doing this. And then, the Quartermaster tease. The first time I listened to that and I heard it, I was like, oh, what? Like,
What's happening?
yeah. So, they're going to do that. They're going to, give me hope and then, pull the rug out as it happens. But this is a spectacular What About Me, one of my favorite versions of the song ever.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. It was great.
Yeah. Then we move on to our bonus track for this week, which is the Young Stuff from May 3rd, 2017. Same lineup. This is our final Young Stuff, I believe, unless there's one in the next episode that I forgot about. Yeah, this is our final Young Stuff.
Wow,
Megan.
your theme song, Ryan. Come on.
I know.
Your theme
It's
song.
blame the band for, not playing it nearly as much after this time period.
Which makes me sad because it's one of my favorite Snarky Puppy songs. I think the intro to this song is just absolutely the coolest.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just it's so cool, and this one is just a really great one. You get another Bob Reynolds solo here,
Yep.
and an amazing Justin Moog outro with really cool. I really like the interplay between Justin and Bill here. I feel like the two of them have an amazing musical connection. When one is soloing for the other to either be playing around with some stuff on like synth bass or comping or whatever it may be, like they're always egging each other on, which is awesome to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the beginning of it. Like Bob's solo is so sophisticated and classy sounding. You want to be like smoking a cigarette, drinking a martini in like a dark cigar bar with like leather stools and like a bartender and suspenders. It's just
I love
just
your
has those
imagery.
vibes.
It's always
Yeah.
so vivid.
Thanks, Ryan. That's like what this song evokes for me. But yeah, what you were saying between Justin and Bill, the interplay, like I think Bill's playing this like really gentle piano, really delicately underneath what Justin's doing on the Moog. And it's beautiful. It sounds so good. And the ending is just soaring and absolutely beautiful. It's just
Yeah.
really, really great ending to the song.
Yeah. It's
If you've got to go out on
spectacular.
this one, I guess this is a good one to go out on, right?
Right. There are, I mean, I was going to say there are worse Young Stuffs out there, but like they're all awesome. So,
This is great.
yes. And that brings us to a close of our show that we are talking about today. This is a cool intro to the Culture Vulture era, kind of still a lot of the sounds and sonic textures that we were hearing a lot of in 2015, obviously McQueen and Larnell aside. But the next episode, we are going to introduce Zach Brock on violin and Bobby Sparks on keys, both very different dimensions of sound, adding to
Oh
the
my God,
lineup.
Zach Brock, got to see him at the Beacon. Whoa.
Yeah.
He absolutely tore that place up. Like tore
Yes.
it up.
So,
Incredible.
and we're going to see Clav really kind of start to take center stage in the sound. No whammy yet. We'll get that in 2019. But it's very different, a very different feel here. But I'm looking forward to that episode. There's some really amazing stuff coming up. So that I didn't say what show it's going to be. It's going to be May 25th, 2017 in Wrocław. I'm not pronouncing that right. In Poland. Part of this big European tour. a lot of amazing stuff going on. Plus, the bonus track is one of my favorites ever,
Ooh,
and
exciting.
you're gonna love it.
I'm gonna have to brush up on my Polish. I don't know much about Polish.
My family is from one side of my family is from Poland, like four
Oh, no
generations ago.
way.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah, it's
Pierogies?
the classic Jewish from Eastern Europe thing,
Yeah. Well, good
as
food for sure.
as it happens. Yeah, but I'm excited for that episode. Going to be fun to get back at that pretty soon. And yeah, what's going on now? When this episode comes out later this week, they will be on tour. No, they won't be. I lied. They will be a couple of days away from the start of tour. South American leg, which will be happening the next couple of weeks. We will be posting any highlights and set lists that pop up on Instagram at Things of Gold Pod, and also on Twitter with the same handle. So check it out there. Hopefully we get lots of video coming out of this leg. This is their first time in South America since December of 2017, which, it's
wow.
it's
That's a
unfortunate that we
long
couldn't
time.
time our episode from that leg to come out during this tour. But that is 2 episodes from now. So
Oh, that would have been so cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. I'm jealous. I'd love to be in South America. That's amazing. That's going to
yeah.
be incredible for them.
And then they come back here and they actually play in Toronto at the end of June. So I'm excited to see them
Yeah,
again
and
in
you'll be
6
there.
weeks.
Yeah, that's so
Yes.
great.
It'll be
That's
fun.
great.
It's going to be fun. But of course, that's a little bit of time away. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Things of Gold. We will see you in a couple of weeks with our next episode. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, see you then. Thanks, everyone.